Hey everybody, I'm Chef Tom with atbbq.com, and today we're making naan. That's right, today we are cooking up the pillowy soft leavened flatbread known as naan. It's a wonderful vessel for delivering foods like curries and dals, or perhaps even a tandoori chicken that you might see on our channel next week. From the plate to your mouth, let's dive in. We're gonna start by blooming some yeast and mixing up our dough. And we need about 1 cup or 227 grams of warm water that's at about 110 degrees. We're also gonna add just a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar to help that yeast get active. And then 9 grams or 1 tablespoon of dry yeast. Now this I'm gonna whisk up. We'll mix it. I'm gonna set this in a warm spot in the kitchen for the next 5 to 10 minutes until it starts to foam up. Next, we're gonna mix together our dry ingredients. We're starting with 500 grams or about 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. We're not gonna use the bread flour today because we want this to be extra tender, not super stretchy and elastic. Adding to that a tablespoon of our black garlic-infused sea salt, a little extra flavor there. Just a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. We're gonna give this a little mix. Don't have to do a super thorough job because this is going into the food processor. So this dough is gonna come together really quickly in the food processor. We're not trying to work this dough too much and develop a ton of gluten like we would with a pizza dough, because we want it to be a nice tender dough. And one of the things that's gonna help with that is our full-fat Greek yogurt. I'm gonna scrape every last bit of the 3/4 cup of Greek yogurt into that food processor. And then we're gonna get this going and drizzle in our water and our yeast. This is gonna come together really quickly. And as soon as it forms into a ball and starts walking around the perimeter, like we're seeing right here, give it just a few more seconds. There we go, that's what we're looking for. And that is done. We're gonna hit our work surface with a little flour here. We'll turn out our dough. Obviously pretty wet and sticky right now. Use just a little bit of flour on the hands to knead this into a nice smooth ball. I'm seeing a little bit of tearing, which tells me I need to stop. I'm not trying to tear our dough. Just want to give it just that little bit of knead so we have a fairly smooth surface. And then we're gonna let it proof in a container until it's at least doubled in size. Hit that with a little olive oil. And then drop this in a warm place in your house. I usually put it above the stove or the fridge. So once your dough looks like this, it's puffed up, we're ready to turn this out and divide it into individual portions. The first thing I'm gonna do, I know I wanna get about 10 servings out of this, so I'm gonna weigh this entire piece of dough here. 935, I usually find that this comes out somewhere in the 925 to 950 range. If I'm dividing this by 10, that means each one of these dough balls is gonna be about 93 to 94 grams. So step one is simply scaling it out to the right size. And then step two will be actually forming these into balls. Get rid of some of this excess flour now. We need a little bit of tackiness on the work surface. So just gonna take these a little bit more tacky. Let me get some water down. You need your work surface to be able to grip that dough. There we go. So just rolling it into a ball shape like that. It's gonna have a little pucker on the bottom, and that's all good. So that's gonna need to rest now at least 30 minutes before we can actually roll these out, which we're gonna be doing with a rolling pin today. And once I get all of these formed up, we're gonna transfer them to an oiled sheet pan. A little bit more olive oil down on our pan. And these are gonna proof a little bit, they'll puff up a little bit more, so I'm gonna take these inside where we have a warm spot. I just wanna cover these with some plastic for now and let them rise and relax. So we've given our naan time to rise now. It's softened up, it's puffed up a little bit. What we're gonna do at this point is we're gonna roll these out with a rolling pin until they're about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. They don't have to be perfectly round. In fact, if you make it a little messy, you can actually call it artisan, I believe. So just about like that, fairly thin. And we're just gonna stack these with some paper in between so they don't stick. All right, last one here. And we are immediately ready to head over to the grill. Well, today we're cooking on the Yoder Smokers YS640S pellet grill. We're running hickory pellets at 475 degrees, and we've got our griddle installed on the left side of the grill, right over the firebox. So right on the dry, hot skillet, we're gonna lay down a couple skins here. So only about 60 seconds, 45 to 60 seconds. You can see it's puffing up. We're getting those bubbles. We're getting some nice color on here. We've got just a little bit of crisp, but we want to also keep it soft. We don't want it all crispy. It should be pliable. And then as soon as I flip this, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of clarified butter. Looking good, soft, pliable, but good color. That's what we're going for. Let's flip these over as they come off. We'll hit those with some more ghee here in just a second. We're going to throw a couple more on so we can do this quickly. Good still. Now I have turned the temperature of the grill up to 500 just because that's going to continue to feed pellets. That preheating at 475 is great, but you want to bump that heat up just a little bit so that griddle maintains its heat as we're cooking all these rounds of naan. We got the puff just right on this one. When the conditions are right and get that steam inside, it'll actually puff up. And not all of them will. That's fine. They're still going to eat just fine. You can see just how pillowy soft these are with just the right amount of char on the bottom. Can't wait to get a taste. The ghee smells amazing. Look at that. Let's try it. Man, that texture. It's airy, it's chewy. You can skip the butter on the outside, but I don't know why you'd want to. In fact, you could also hit this with some cilantro if you're a cilantro fan. But it's great plain. The flavor is fantastic and such a fantastic combination of textures between that crisp on the outside, the pillowy soft texture inside. But we earned all that by working with those multiple leaveners. You get the yeast, you got your actual chemical leavening in there, so you create all these tiny little air bubbles even when it's rolled out thin and flat. Can't wait to load these up with some tandoori chicken, but you guys need to stay tuned because we're gonna have that video out next week. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out atbbq.com for all the products featured in today's video. If you enjoy the recipe, hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions or comments or there's anything you'd like to see me cook, let me know in the comment section down below, and let's be good to one another. For more recipes, tips, and techniques, head over to atbbq.com/thesauce. All things barbecue, where barbecue legends are made.